3-ingredient recipes are seriously some of the easiest, most delicious recipes that you will ever make. You're getting it all today. You're getting breakfast, dinners, and desserts. I'm sharing my favorites with you today. Also, thank you to Wildgrain for sponsoring this video. Let's get to my kitchen. Let's get to cooking. To kick us off today, we're getting started on this caramel apple dip. This one is unreal. It is so good and so simple to make. So grab 24 ounces of no-bake cheesecake filling. Of course, you don't bake this cheesecake filling. It's like refrigerated and ready to eat. So put it in a pretty dish or like any serving tray, kind of spread it out, and then over the top, you're going to add a half a cup of caramel sauce. This is like the most perfect dip to bring to any party or gathering. People are going to think you spent like hours and hours trying to make it, and you will wow a bunch of people. This one is just amazing. And then you're going to sprinkle about a half a cup of Heath pieces over the top with more caramel, dip green apples in it, and you are going to fall in love with this dip. It is so delicious. Everybody will be asking for your recipe. You know, it's only 3 ingredients. I like to call these pork chops my go-to busy night pork chops. They're just an easy dinner to make on a super busy night. So to a plate, add about a cup of all-purpose flour. Season the flour with a dash of salt, pepper, paprika, and garlic powder. You could, of course, use different seasonings too. You could add like Cajun seasonings. Really use any seasonings that you like. You just want to season that flour well. Just give that flour mixture a good stir, then season the both sides of your pork chops with a dash of salt and pepper. I do want to let you know I'm not including seasonings as an ingredient for any of the recipes today, just because, you know, seasonings are just seasonings anyway. Now go ahead and coat those pork chops super well in that flour mixture and then set them on a separate plate. Over to my pan on the stove, I just added in a tablespoon of butter and 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Once the butter melts down, just add the pork chops onto the pan. You're going to cook them for about 4 to 5 minutes on each side, or until they have a beautiful crust on the outside and they're cooked through. I'm also serving these pork chops alongside of this like broccoli rice microwave dish. It's like seasoned with Parmesan and like garlic and different seasonings. I found it at the store and wanted to give it a try. I just stuck it in my microwave, but I'll let these pork chops cooked through, and then once they are cooked through, as you see, they have just like a wonderful crust on the outside. They're super tender and delicious. These are thinner pork chops. I do find that like thinner pork chops cook quicker, and of course they're a little bit more tender in the end, but here is what they look like. Super juicy, oh so flavorful. Pork chops are very affordable as well. And then I did think that rice was pretty good. Not one of my all-time favorite side dishes, but I will probably be buying it again just for a quick side. Every single year when fall hits, I have a craving for apple cider donuts, so when I saw Wildgrain had them for this fall, I had to try, and let me tell you, these are hands down the best apple cider donuts I have ever had. I've tried quite a few. They just have this like crispy flavor layer on the outside, and they're pillowy soft on the inside. Also, their Belgian waffles are delicious. They're like mapley. They are insane. What I love about Wildgrain is how customizable it is. They have so many different things you could choose from. Right now they have so many different like fall seasonal items, and every single item is baked up in 25 minutes or less. They have the best sourdough. It is made with like cleaner ingredients, so it's easier on your belly. They also gave me a discount code for you. Just click the link in my description. Use code Julia for $30 off your first order, plus free croissants for life. Now we're getting started on these pulled beef sandwiches. This one is a good one. So if you don't have a slow cooker on hand, or you just didn't have time to put your beef in a slow cooker in the morning, this is kind of how I like to make my pulled beef sandwiches. So season your chuck roast or any roast you're using with a dash of salt and pepper. Add a couple tablespoons of olive oil into a pot on the stove. Turn your heat to a high heat and sear your meat for a couple minutes on each side. This is going to create like a savory crust on the outside of your meat. And then this is just going to make your meat super flavorsome in the end. After it's through searing on both sides, add in a packet of au jus gravy mix, and then you're going to add in about 5.5 cups of water. Let this simmer on your stove for about 3 hours on a lower heat, and then there you go. Dinner is basically done. Your meat will be like fall apart tender. Your house will be smelling so good. So this is what I like to do when I basically forget to add a roast in my slow cooker, or I just want to do it on the stove. I am serving our beef with this Wildgrain slow fermented olive oil ciabatta bread. This is just like a bake from frozen bread. We don't have a bunch of like fresh bakeries around where I live here in Utah, so I love that I could bake a loaf from frozen, and then once it's out of the oven, it tastes like it came from a fancy bakery. So that's one of the things I love most about Wildgrain. But now that my meat is tender, I just shredded it up, removed any of the larger fatty pieces, and then over to my bread. Now that it is finished cooking, I just sliced it open and I'm placing slices of provolone cheese in the middle. I'm going to let the cheese melt for a couple of minutes. Now that it's a little bit melty in my bread, I'm adding in that shredded beef, and then I am going to slice up my sandwiches. You could serve this up. We served ours alongside of the au jus that was just cooking in the, pot on the stove. That just makes it so good to dip your sandwiches, in that au jus. But this bread is like flaky on the outside. It is so soft on the inside. It has like a wonderful flavor. I did also serve this with a side salad with spring mix, a little bit of feta cheese, tomatoes, and then for the dressing, I did use an Italian dressing. This one's a winner dinner. You have to try it. Now we're making the best pumpkin chocolate chip muffins. Easy, simple, so delicious. To a big bowl, add in 1 box of spice cake mix, then add in 1/4 cup of water. Next, you're going to add in a 15-ounce can of pure pumpkin. You don't want to use like pumpkin pie filling or anything like that, just pure pumpkin. After that, add in 3/4 cup of chocolate chips, and then you are going to give this a good stir. This recipe is simple, but it is so good. Once it looks like this, you're going to grab your muffin pan and then line it with just cupcake liners, and then you're going to scoop some scoops in there. This makes for about 16 muffins, give or take, and then this will bake in a preheated oven to 350 degrees for about 20 minutes. If you're looking to make a fail-proof pumpkin chocolate chip muffin recipe, this one is for you. My husband tried a couple when he came home and he just couldn't believe that it was only 3 ingredients in this recipe. This one is a winner. Like I said, it is completely fail-proof. You throw the ingredients in, mix it, and bake it. These are fluffy, delicious, and perfect for this season. Now we're making my favorite chocolate peanut butter cup. So to a bowl, add in 1.5 cups of chocolate chips. You could use semi-sweet chocolate chips, milk chocolate, or dark chocolate. Then 1.5 tablespoons of coconut oil, microwave it, and stir it until it is smooth. Once your chocolate is like silky and smooth like this, set it to the side, pull out a bowl, and then you're going to add in 3 tablespoons of powdered sugar, 1/2 cup of creamy peanut butter. Then you're going to give this a stir. You want the peanut butter and the powdered sugar to get combined together, and you don't want the powdered sugar to kind of look like a separate ingredient. You want it to look, kind of like this. Then you're going to pull out your mini muffin tray, and then you're going to put a little bit of that chocolate to the bottom of your muffin tray. Then you're going to scoop some spoonfuls of that peanut butter mixture over the top. Then you're going to drizzle more chocolate over the top of that. Once I'm finished pouring the chocolate over the top, I like to give this a little shake. It kind of evens out the chocolate. Put this in your freezer for about 20 minutes just so it could set up, and then I do like to keep these in my fridge just so they don't melt. These are the best chocolate peanut butter little candies. You can make them for friends, family. They're like the most delicious things. They seriously taste like you get them, somewhere fancy. This is a perfect make-ahead breakfast. We are making these sausage cream cheese pinwheels. To a pan on the stove, add in 1 pound of sausage. Just break the sausage up and cook it through. I love this breakfast because, like I said, you can make it ahead of time. You can make it for a holiday, larger amount of people, and then it reheats really well, like in the air fryer. Super yummy, but just break it up, cook it through, and then remove any excess grease with a paper towel and a spoon just until it's absorbed. Now add in 8 ounces of cubed cream cheese. Just stir it around on a lower heat until that cream cheese is incorporated in with the sausage and kind of melts down. Just trust the process. Grab your crescent dough sheet, unroll it, and then you're going to add the sausage over the top, kind of spread it out, and then you're going to roll this up kind of like a cinnamon roll or a pinwheel, just kind of like this, and then you're going to slice it into kind of like cinnamon rolls or pinwheels, however you want to say it. Grab a large baking dish, spray it with nonstick spray, then you're going to place them in your baking dish facing up like this. This will bake in a preheated oven to 350 degrees for about 20 to 25 minutes or until they're golden brown on the top. Here's what they look like out of the oven. You could pour some country gravy over the top and that would make them so delicious, but these are so great as is. You could top them with anything you like or eat them alone. Like I said before, you could of course make these into kind of like freezer breakfasts. I do recommend reheating them in the air fryer though. Now we're getting started on these classic basic donuts. So to this pan on my stove, I'm adding in 2 cups of frying oil. I'm using canola oil, but you could use any oil you like. This is kind of like a spin-off of the maple bars, just on page 217 in my cookbook. I'm not making the maple bar like toppings. I'm just doing like a basic glaze, but that topping is super good. If you want to make those, you definitely need to try them at least once. But to my cutting board, I just have my can of biscuits right here. I'm cutting a hole in the center of each of the biscuits. This is going to make a traditional donut shape of donut, or you could pull your biscuit slightly like this and then that kind of makes like a maple bar. So you can make your donuts really into any shape that you'd like. This is my favorite trick, just to check to make sure your oil's hot enough. Grab a little piece of dough, put it in, and then if it bubbles up, then your oil is hot enough. If you don't have like a temperature thing, I don't have a temperature thing. So that's my favorite little trick. Just add your donuts in, cook them for a couple minutes on each side or until they form like a beautiful golden brown crust like this. Then just set them to the side on a plate covered with paper towels. While I'm still craving those apple cider donuts, I am just doing like basic donuts for today. So into this bowl, I added in 2 cups of powdered sugar, vanilla extract, and about 5 tablespoons of milk. You could always add in like more milk, less milk, really whatever you'd like to do. And then dip the donuts in that glaze. And then there you go. You could enjoy your donuts. I had a random can of biscuits, just in my fridge. I didn't know what to do with that can, so I thought to make these donuts. They really did turn out good. Pigs in a blanket are a fun one. They're also such an easy, simple dinner you could throw together. I have a can of crescents right here. Just unroll your crescents, and then I'm just going to grab one, and I'm going to place a little slice of cheese in it. We like to make ours with cheese, so I grab a half of like a slice of cheese, and then place a hot dog in it and roll it up. This is such an easy dinner or lunch you could throw together. The cheese definitely adds like, extra yumminess. Go right on ahead and bake this in a preheated oven to 350 degrees for about 12 to 15 minutes or until they're golden brown, just like this. We like to serve ours with a little bit of ketchup on the side. This one's a good one. Now we're making this butternut squash ravioli with a bacon sage sauce. I'll admit it was supposed to just be 3 ingredients, but I was just having a little bit too much fun with the sauce and I went a little crazy and I added more than 3 ingredients. I'm sorry about that, but this recipe is unbelievable and you have to try it. It's one of my new favorites. Crisp up your bacon and then remove it to a plate lined with paper towels and just set it to the side. Reserve about a tablespoon of the bacon grease in the pan, then add in 2 tablespoons of butter. After you have your butter melty, add in a half a tablespoon of fresh chopped sage, then add in a half a cup of chicken broth. After you add your broth in there, you're going to add in 1 cup of heavy cream. Bring this up to a simmer and you're going to let it simmer for a couple minutes. Just stir it occasionally. And then for the ravioli, I'm just using Wildgrain's butternut squash and cheese ravioli. I love the ingredients in it and it cooks up in just about 7 minutes. Definitely the best butternut squash ravioli I've ever tried. And then back over to the sauce, add in a tablespoon of maple syrup, give it a stir, and then add in a dash of salt and pepper. I'm telling you, I did go a little crazy with the sauce just because I kept adding ingredients, but trust me, it's just so good. Now add in 3/4 cup of Parmesan cheese, let it simmer for a couple more minutes. The ravioli just finished cooking. Now back over to my sauce. I'm going to add my bacon in now. The reason why I'm adding it in at the end is just so it stays crispy. Everybody likes crispy bacon. Pour the sauce over the top of the ravioli and you could serve this up. The sage, the bacon, the butternut squash, and the maple syrup work so well together. The sauce is thin. It's not too heavy. This one is so delicious. Also, make sure you use the discount code so you could get the best deal on your Wildgrain order. Make sure you're subscribed down below the video so you don't miss the next one like this. I'll see you there. Bye for now.